couple of things, and see if I can minimize my 12 billion windows that I have open here. I don't. Okay, hold on. All right, I think I got everything minimized that I need to get done. Let me share my screen here real quick. It may end up being a little bit small for you guys. So as you guys know, Sean's post in Slack is something that's a conversation that's been going on for a little bit, and the goal here is to try to figure out what we can do to kind of end this back and forth. Can we do something? What can we do? How do we accomplish it? What do we need from ESW? And really to give us to a point where we have from this group one voice that we can go to ESW and say, this is our list of demands. This is what we need. You're saying one, you say one, a large community, small corporation. So this is the tools that we need for the community to be able to succeed, for the community to be able to deliver on that promise. So one of the things that I really want to try to do here is try to do everything we can to be as respectful for everybody's time here as we can. So with the meetings, I really do want to try to make sure that we do everything that we can here to, have an agenda, have items to discuss, so that we have a plan, and then more importantly, to be able to really keep a hard stop on things. But with that, the real goal right now is to end all of this argument over can we or can't we, and then to put procedures in place around what we're doing. So I posted kind of a draft version of what I wanted to get through today. If you guys have other things, let's make sure that we get it there. But what is going to happen from here is I'm going to take all of this and basically craft a message demanding explicit confirmation and approval for each of these items from ESW. And it's going to go to Ash, and it's going to go to Andy.
Hey, Mitch, could you make that bigger by any chance? It's really small.
I think I probably can.
You can use view in original size. It makes it much easier to view.
Well, I can make it even better.
You can.
Is this better?
Much. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I just shared the window rather than sharing my whole screen. So what my goal with this is to be able to go out and go to Andy and ESW and say, this is what we want to do. These are the keys to the castle that we need to have. And we need an answer, yes or no, not maybe. I need a yes or a no answer on all of these items so that we can, as a community, move forward, right? We're at a point where we're supposed to have a 9.3 release. We're supposed to have GDPR. We have a bunch of things out there, right, that we've, could have been communicating publicly about. We've got DNN Connect coming up. I want to be able to do as much as we can to kind of set that stage of, can we take control of everything? And if we can, what are we going to do with doing it?
Can I just also butt in on this, please?
Yeah.
There is a this I think Pavel guy bowed out of the team last week, and for me that was one of those WTF moments, because he was supposed to be the chief architect of DNN, or become the chief architect of DNN, and my question to ESW, first of all, is who the fuck is in the chief architect right now? Because I think we do need that.
Right. And that's
either we need a person or we need a process for us, but we, how to decide it. But we need some procedure how to decide to make decisions.
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit a little bit more than that. So what I want to do is try to because unfortunately I do have a very hard stop at 3 Central here. So I broke things out into what now ended up being 5 items. Ignore the fact that I obviously cannot count appropriately. But really what I want to kind of go through is the things that we need from a community ESW interaction. So I'm just talking about the things that we need, not necessarily related to, the processes in GitHub, not related to anything, more of the strategic kind of conversations. How do we make sure that we are aware as a community of what ESW's plans are? And so what I had with this is really around, and it does kind of tie together. I think, Peter, your staffing question, 100%. What we need to know is what is the staffing as it relates to DNN? What is the availability? What is going to happen? And then more importantly, with this, how are we notified of change? Because that's something that really is going to drive what we're doing. If we know that we have no dedicated resources and we have 20 hours a week of allotment, that allows us to then do the other stuff, right? Contribution management, roadmap planning, release management. We can control all of that when we know we have nothing. Right.
Could I briefly, on the staffing? So, like the architect, obviously that's someone that shouldn't be changed every single friggin' month, right? We need a stable person who knows the platform and is capable as an architect of overseeing its global development. Then we have the direct staff that we interact with, like Ash, etc. Of course, if anything changes in that, we need to know immediately. So we're not left kind of wondering whose door to knock as to the day-to-day overseeing of technical resources. Then they have, behind the scenes, they have technical resources. Okay, that's going to be opaque. I understand that. That's going to change from day to day, whatever. That's something that we channel through Ash. And then and the same thing goes for the testing team.
Well,
right?
yeah, and so I think I want to, to a certain extent, we actually have to stay at a higher level because also Ash is not dedicated to us anymore. Ash has been assimilated into the rest of the ESW organization. Right.
But so, he's still our point contact because he's the one that's in this team.
We hope.
Right.
Anyway, and that's what I need to do, right? We need to know the staffing picture totally. QA is something I'm going to kind of cover a little bit more specifically in the release side, just because of the impact. But basically, what I want to do here too is, so we need to know the staffing, but then I also want to just really talk and get some conversation here around what the communication process is in terms of the other stuff, right? So this is, direction, strategy, and more importantly, what ESW is doing, right? Because there's a little bit here that relates to roadmap planning and release planning that really is integral for us to understand, because they're working off of a separate bug list and they're committing things. And my example with that is they're the ones with the CDF stuff, right, that broke the ability to do a get latest and build the solution. So what I want to know is, what do we do, right, to make sure that we prevent that? Because that happened with an architect on their side, with Ash in place. If we've lost the architect, if we've lost Ash's dedication, then we need to be able to have more responsibility. Which I'm gonna switch these two around because it kind of dovetails directly in to the next piece. which is I do believe that the management of contributions is something that we really need to take a deep look at. And Peter, unfortunately, not to pick on you, but you managed to do something the other day that really brought this top of mind to me. And that is, we have people with merge abilities on pull requests, but we have been told not to use them in the past. And I think there's still some other things. And I think what we really need to do is devise and document a pull request process in terms of what happens when a pull request comes in. How do we review it? How do we then decide if it's approved or rejected? And what is that procedure? And I think one of the things that we need to do as a community is have an absolutely 100% we cannot approve our own pull requests rule. No matter how small, just because I don't want to set a precedent that we're the wild, wild west.
No, I know, but at the same time, of course, no one's looking at these things, right? You can scream until you can scream until you're blue in the face. No one's going to look at it.
And that is why what I want this to be is I want, as part of my request to ESW, I want us to build the process of the approval, and I want the 4 of us or 6 of us that have those rights to be the ones that accept the merges. I personally, because of your point, believe that this is a great time for us to say the resources from ESW are not dedicated to the DNN platform. They are not the resources that know the most about what's going on. If you look at the reviews and everything else, I want us to be approving not only anything that comes in from the community, but I want us to be the ones approving what comes in from ESW, taking ownership of that process.
Right, but that is not a trivial task.
Yeah, but I think from the experience that they switch personnel nearly all over during the past time, they do not have any experience, besides Ash, they do not have any experienced developers at the moment. And that means that there need to be people in charge who review the contributions with some background knowledge. And at the moment, those are only in the community.
Yeah, exactly. But I think Mitch is referring to the people in the community. So
yes.
One thing, for instance, that makes it very complicated, because I can remember one painful pull request as well in the past, and basically the platform code is so unwieldily large that there is not a single person on the planet who knows what a specific piece of code will do in the platform. And it's, of course, so heavily used by extensions. So this is a near impossible task to always guarantee that nothing will absolutely break when you do something. Well, you rely on tests, you rely on intelligence, and the best that you can when it's a specific part of the framework.
Right. I mean, well, the thing is, right, we're not asking for perfection here, but what I'm saying is just, for example, they put a bunch of stuff in that introduced some memory overhead on every page load about 2 months ago. And it was caught by a community review. It was not caught by the review.
Yeah, and I could totally understand that someone with knowledge of the framework is going to be able to catch this. And I think we need that process in place. It's just that right now there's nothing, right? And right now we're in the Wild West.
Yes, and I think
I don't, and this is what I'm trying to stop, right?
Yeah.
We don't fix the Wild West and the lack of direction by letting everybody do everything. I think that we have to respect the stability of the platform in, letting those pull requests, make sure that they've been vetted.
I don't think anyone's disputing it. So
yeah.
Please.
So I think we just need to get that procedure in place. What I think we need to do, and this is something that I think we can do next week's meeting, or we can take a couple of us, that want to discuss it offline. The task for this group is to create that procedure in terms of what we'd like to see. And I think it needs to be documented in GitHub of here's how you contribute to DNN. When you submit it, we want it associated with a GitHub ID. We want this information done. We want to make sure, and this is what we're going to do when we review it, right? We're going to pull it down. We're going to make sure everything builds. We're going to make sure that the tests run. You know, those are the things that we're going to do, and basically document that barrier of this is what we're going to do versus this is what we're expecting you to do before you come in.
Right.
And, you know, in the end, we've got some of that with the, you know, existing document that's out there. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that we expand this document. So the contributing markdown document that's in the DNN platform, get that updated to make sure that we have, you know, outlined this is what the exception process looks like. So that we know this is how it's going to be accepted.
Just one more word. I wouldn't disagree if they want to have to contribute as well, to be able to review as well. So it could be a review team, one from the community, one from ESW, if they want to. In my opinion, wouldn't make it as harsh that we take over this role, but we would like to cooperate. And in my opinion, this sounds would be more politically more suitable for them, maybe more suitable for them. So we should be able to propose this if they want to. If they say we don't have the resources, then of course we say okay, then we do it. But if they want to be able to be in charge as well, and in my opinion, the best would be that we have pairs, one from the community, one from ESW, who do peer review and then need to agree, or we need to decide in this group how to proceed.
Yeah, I think that's somewhere that conversation may go. You know, I think that what we're going to end up doing is going to depend on what the staffing looks like. Yeah. What I can tell you from what we've seen in the last couple of days or weeks, I don't think they have the people that are going to be dedicated to us, right? We lost the architect. Ash is fairly spread thin now. You know, it's nothing against him, but, you know, he's got other responsibilities now as well. But I think that's one of the things that I want to do. Now, along those lines, I also, at the same time, kind of want to hit the ground running with things that we've been promised that we haven't gotten, right? So another one of those things was a conversation that was started all the way back at DNN Summit in February around cloud support. So we discussed kind of a couple of small things that would get us cloud support for DNN. It's not perfect cloud support, but it's the stuff that is there in Evoke today. That we were told, you know, oh yeah, that's not a problem. We can get you that. I want to go back with the official on record. This is what we need. You know, there was some pushback at one point in time that, you know, said, well, this isn't really done the right way. The community should rewrite it. Well, there's a lot of reasons why we at least need a good base to start from. So I want to go back in from the technology group and say, okay, we've been told we can get this. Let's get this coming towards us. Is there anything else in the various conversations that we've been promised that we haven't received yet, aside from the release management stuff? But in terms of anything that was supposed to have been backported, brought down from Evoke into platform, is there anything that we haven't seen yet?
Liquid content.
Liquid content would be the big one, probably.
What was that?
Liquid content would probably be the biggest one.
Okay. And I think that's
a different. I think that's a different situation, because with liquid content they originally planned for 9.2 a rewrite without the dependencies on the web, and they were working on it, but they didn't finish it. And for me, this is the next question: what is their strategy with Evoke products? Do they still have developers on Evoke products? or otherwise, would it make sense for them to open source it and for us, make it able for us to pick out pieces which we would like to get into the platform, and then maybe there are some others who would like to work on improvements of some of their products or of their original products to make them as add-ons for DNN platform. But at the moment, this is missing me. This strategy for Evoke is missing for me at all. And what are their plans? They talk about company support. Do they still have supporters? Do they still have the infrastructures, or do they still just have a call center and no backend for it? I don't know. But at least to get confident and to be able to propose it to my clients, I would need at least a little bit more information about it, how they process it.
Right. No, makes total sense. I think that is definitely definitely the case. So then the next piece that I have here is the big one that requires commitment from our side, right, from the community. And that's a concept of release management in terms of, if we really want to take control of this as a community, we want to be able to do the builds. We want to be able to go out and say, we believe what is currently committed makes a good 9.2.1 release. We want to package it up. So what I wanted to do is make sure that we kind of document everything that we have, that we need, everything that we have that works, the stuff that we don't need, or that we don't have that we still need. And what I have so far is we need the login information and the ability to publish the NuGet packages out to NuGet. Right, we know that Ash has those credentials because he did finally get those updated for 9.2, but we need that. The continuous integration environments to be able to do the testing and those kinds of things. I don't believe we still have full access. Now, I know, Andrew, you have done something in that CI environment, correct?
No, I haven't. So the stuff with the CI that I know of right now is, DNN was using Team City, but they wanted to move it over to AppBear, which we all agreed was a great idea. But I asked to get access to it, I want to say the other day or end of last week, for the client dependency stuff that's been breaking the current master branch or development branch, whatever it's called. And I was told I can't get it and that I just needed to submit pull requests with the AppBear file. So if we want to actually get ownership of that, I think it'd be great to give somebody, at least one person in this group from the community, access to be able to make changes on that, because it kind of just slows us down when we're trying to update stuff in the CI environment.
Okay, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So the ability to push releases to GitHub, we do have access to do that now. So we actually can go out and click the release button and upload everything. Now, one of the things that is part of this that, to Sebastian's point, I think would need to be addressed. If we are controlling the release of DNN platform, what happens to Evoke? And do we care?
Do we care? Exactly.
Because if we publish 9.2.1 and they don't publish Evoke, I think we want to make sure that we at least understand, A, from our side that it's acceptable, and B, from Corp's side, right? There's some support stuff for us that makes it more interesting to do. But I want to basically get that to them and just kind of say, hey, we're going to do this. This is what we want to do. What do you want us doing with Evoke? Do you want us to provide a release note, that says, do not install this if you're not an Evoke, Evoke customer, or if you're an Evoke customer because of whatever reason? Just making sure that, again, we're being good citizens with cooperation anyway.
For sure. But
But it should be like any other contributor, like any other solution developer based on the DNN platform. Of course, we have a closer relationship with them, and maybe they want to chime into the release process, so they are able to test it before upfront or something like this. That could be set up if they have the resources. But in general, we should care about the DNN platform, get it released, and they should hook on top, and they shouldn't try to move things in or whatever, and make it more difficult for us.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and we just need to make sure we have that. The other thing then, just
I just wanted to say one thing.
Yeah.
My guess the easiest way for them to handle it would be kind of like a long-term support build. At one point, DNN Corp would probably say, all right, whatever version we've released would be like a long-term support build that would then be like an Evoke supported release.
Right. They pick 9.2, we do 9.21, 9.22, 9.23. They still stay at 9.2. We release 9.3, whatever the case may be. And honestly, it doesn't really matter to us.
No, I mean, they become like
messaging, right?
They become like many of us, just like module developers. I mean, we react to what happens to the platform. We might get a heads up or not, but at the end of the day, the platform goes ahead, and you follow where it goes.
That is mostly correct. The only problem is that they do break things in platform. So if a person installs platform on top of Evoke, very bad things happen.
Yeah, but they release themselves, right? No, does it say anywhere?
And all I'm saying is we need to be clear in our communications, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we're doing a release now, an Evoke customer goes to the DNN website and can download Evoke. We just need to be clear in that messaging. This is a platform release. For Evoke stuff, you need to go over here. And there needs to be messaging more than anything. It's more for them to do on their side, to be able to give an Evoke customer the, hey, you shouldn't upgrade to this. And again, all I'm trying to do is I want to get points to Andy of, okay, you're going to give us the keys to the castle. We're going to do this release. You've now got to manage on your side that they can't go.
Yeah, I'd also just say that, just as far as community goes and release efforts, that if possible, communicating what's coming up in the releases beforehand, a couple weeks beforehand even. That way other module developers can maybe get a preview and update it, and then Evoke could get a preview and update what they need. But there needs to be some sort of forward communication before a release just hits shelves.
This should be now our responsibility. When we're doing the release management for the DNN platform, we are responsible, of course, as well for the communication.
Yeah. I just think that,
and of course they are still responsible for Evoke products, of course. And in my opinion, I wouldn't call them module developers. I would call them solution developers based on DNN platform. And of course, they have to do the same like other module or extension developers. Maybe we can. They have a need for hooks. Where we say, okay, they want to prevent or at least set splash a warning if someone installs the DNN platform on top of Evoke product that there might be an incompatibility. And so, of course, we could consider putting in a hook like this for any solution developer. If there's some flag set that this is a custom solution, then maybe with a link, then we can set up and someone tries to upgrade the platform, then he might get a warning. Hey, you are running not a platform. You're running a solution on top of it. Please make sure with your vendor that that this is compatible without. Otherwise, you might be running into trouble. So this would be completely fine for me, but they should be treated like any other.
Yeah, and I just think that I agree with that. I think that we just make sure before a release hit the shelves and platform that it's pre-communicated what's coming.
Yeah, and I think this is where we really need to get into this release management procedure, and I like that idea, Matt, of mark a release, and really what I think it comes down to is, really it becomes, we get back to doing a beta release, right? We get everything done, we package it together, we say, this is what's going to be released in 2 weeks. This means all of the vendors in the ecosystem, whether it be, ESW for Evoke or any of the third-party module vendors, we give them, here's your 2-week period to go kick the tires. It's a beta release. We're not planning on making any changes, but if they find any bugs, right, we could roll those fixes in. But we have a scheduled procedure, and it's always that case. So it's not, oh, we may release the first week of May. Oh, well, actually, it's going to slip to the second. Oh, we're just going to do it at the end of the month. Oh, crap, you got to release on a Friday. Right? It's scheduled. It's consistent. And then with that process, right, what I want to do is I want to make sure that we have a procedure of what do we do when we do the rollout.
Mitch, for sure, no release Christmas Eve.
Wait a second. Yeah, I think this actually, it's almost a moot point. I think this is going to get a lot better when we're in charge, because our pain points have only been because we were a side product of Evoke. Now that, if we really become leading, then I don't think this is actually going to be an issue at all. I think we can perfectly do this.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be hard to do this at all. I believe that the pain point of notification is going to get harder. As we work to roadmap,
I'd be willing to automate the whole thing. So we just set up a schedule and it just runs.
Right.
So, Mitch, I got a question on that then. With all, there's a lot of processes that we're talking about for releases and how we roll stuff back, or so what are, and this kind of, in my head, this all goes back to what are we using for the CI environment and what can we use for the CI environment? I believe with the .NET Foundation, we should be able to get free build minutes with Visual Studio Team Services. And I have a pretty extensive background in automating full life cycle from CI to release management that I'd be willing to take ownership over if ESW would allow us to set something, a full CI/CD release pipeline.
Yeah, and it looks like we should have access to either VSTS or AppVeyor through the .NET Foundation. And it sounds like there may have actually already been some AppVeyor licenses granted to ESW.
It's set up on the main platform. It's just failing for the CDF stuff.
So basically what I personally think that AppVeyor is probably going to be easier if we can. They have a little bit more support for open source.
Right. So I just want to say one thing. So the AppVeyor, absolutely, with open source, it has more support for it. It integrates very nicely with GitHub. VSTS recently announced that they are having open projects that are more tuned for the open source community. And if we want to set up something that doesn't just do a CI build, but handles our release management. So suppose that we are ready to cut, a 9.3 build, and we are able to have our release management create, let's say, a test build for people to go out there and use, and then we could approve that in a couple weeks, or schedule that to be approved in a couple weeks, and move it on to the next phase where it would actually get released. And we can really do a lot of customization with VSTS, and that's why I would recommend it. If we are going to start documenting out all these processes, it would just be really nice to update or to automate all of that inside of Visual Studio Team Services, which is a little bit trickier to do in AppVeyor. AppVeyor is more just, I want to run a build, I want to run tests with it, and then I'm done with it.
And I build
yeah, so VSTS gives us that full CI/CD pipeline that it sounds like that's the direction that we want to go in based on the conversations that we're having. And that's why I would recommend that over AppVeyor.
Yeah, I think what we can do, I think what we're going to need to do is set up a couple follow-ups to go with this in terms of, really, okay, we need to get this contribution process fully documented, set up, the approvers and how we're doing it. I think for the CI piece, that's huge. Every time we get a commit in GitHub, right, of an open source contribution, if we can get the automated builds going again, from every time that somebody makes a pull request, it would be amazing. right? And I know we can do that with AppBear.
But I think if we have an expert if we have Andrew as an expert in TFTS, and we could and he would be able to set it up for us, and it would be of course great, because it would bring us in front very quickly, and we could really be able to build it as we need it, and to set up the process as we need it. And so in my opinion, if we have an expert, that would be great, and if Andrew is willing to contribute and his knowledge and set it up for us, I think we should follow his.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the end, it either is going to be fine. I think the key is going to be, we are a large open source project. If VSTS only gives us a tiny bucket of minutes, then we may have to go to AppBear because we are going to need more minutes.
That's a good point.
So,
And I think it's worth just investigating with our .NET Foundation. I believe we get something free out of VSTS. I'm not 100% sure. If we do just the bare bones basic, they give us 120 build minutes a month.
right, and that's what we got to make sure of, right? 120 build minutes a month gets us like 2 builds of DNN.
Right.
So we just need to be aware of that. I think what we can do, Andrew, since you've got some interest in that, why don't you, Clint and I circle back on that to see what we can do. But again, what I'm trying to do here is, this is what we want to do. We want to take ownership. Okay, we need the resources out of the .NET Foundation. So what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to go and I want to say, Andy, Ash, this is what we want to do. I need your blessing, and you need to give us the keys, right? Because what I don't want to do right now, what I don't want any of us getting into is spending hours and hours and hours on doing something, and then them saying, no, you can't have access to that build environment, right? Because it doesn't make sense. Or if they have a strategic direction of, no, the rest of ESW is using blah, 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 you must use that platform if you're going to be supported in our community. We need to be aware of that, because that will change our direction. And that's what I'm trying to do here, is really say, this is what we're doing. You need to give us the keys. We'll run with it.
I agree. Mitch, regarding the limitations of VFTS, maybe .NET Foundation gets some extra credits due to the connections, and if we might need to ask, and would it be possible for our big project to get more resources? And I'm sure they have tight connections with Microsoft.
I think we can really make that go. All right, I've got to run here in 2 minutes, but I want to cover 2 more real quick things. The other thing that I'm going to float in here that I've not floated in this, and it's not really it's not really directly for this group, but I want to try to put an end to this "what in the world does ESW want Microsoft to do" conversation. So I'm going to start that dialogue with ESW of, okay, I need you to tell me this is what you need, because we've got a game of telephone going on right now. You know, Sean has talked to Scott Hunter, got one answer. Then Sean tried to get Andy to interact with Scott Hunter, and basically nothing happened. You know, that kind of thing. So I'm going to try to get to the bottom of that as well, and hopefully clear this up. Now that I have the leader title here, I can go back through my MVP channels to Scott Hunter and say, okay, I'm the point of contact, and I can be a lot more annoying because I have time to send emails to get to those answers. The last piece that I want to just drop as a thought for everybody, because it's related to everything else. So we do all of this and we get the release planned. The roadmap planning going forward, you know, our velocity of reacting to things is going to be dependent directly upon how much resources we get from ESW, right? So when we get the answers from ESW of what our staffing looks like, what our direction looks like, that's going to help us to be able to do things, because what we need to understand, right, is what are our resources, right? GDPR is a prime example. We had a big push, right? We had an ask, right, of some community help. but then we've had no detail on what that ask was. So what we need to do is make sure.
And at the moment, and we don't have any details what they already did, where we are. How do we make the release for 9.3? Because we had some people listen to the recordings and now waiting for 9.3 and for GDPR improvements. And at the moment, it looks like nothing has happening. So I'm really frustrated at this point. Ash is vanished, and at the moment I'm a little bit scared how this proceeds.
Yes, I agree, right? What we need to stop, right, is the fact that they yanked our staffing and didn't communicate. We are now blocked on GDPR, and there's been hints to the community, right, that we're going to have a GDPR release. Right. I can say with a fair bit of certainty we're not going to have a GDPR release right now. All right, real quick, Clint, can you stop recording?